Now the word of the Lord came to me, saying, Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you, and before you were born, I consecrated you. I appointed you a prophet to the nations. Then I said, O Lord God, truly I do not know how to speak, for I am only a boy. But the Lord said to me, Do not say, I am only a boy, for you shall go to all to whom I send you, and you shall speak whatever I command you. Do not be afraid of them, for I am with you to deliver you, says the Lord. Then the Lord put out his hand and touched my mouth, and the Lord said to me, Now I have put my words in your mouth. Jeremiah 20:7-9. O Lord, you have enticed me, and I was enticed. You have overpowered me, and you have prevailed. I have become a laughingstock all day long. Everyone mocks me. For whenever I speak, I must cry out. I must shout violence and destruction. For the word of the Lord has become for me a reproach and derision all day long. If I say I will not mention him or speak anymore in his name, then within me there is something like a burning fire shut up in my bones. I am weary without holding it in, and I cannot. God bless the reading of his holy word.
Pray with me. Lord, I pray for these next several moments that you would speak through me or in spite of me. Grant that the words of my mouth and the meditation of each of our hearts would be gathered up by you, measured and found always and everywhere to be acceptable in your sight. God, who is our strength and our Redeemer. For it's in the name of Christ that we pray. Amen. So today we're beginning a sermon series called Faith for Tough Times. And what we're going to be doing for the next several weeks is considering the prophet Jeremiah and his life, his vocation, the prophecies that he brought forth. The prophet Jeremiah is a really important figure in the Old Testament. He was one of the major prophets. And by word count, the book of Jeremiah is the longest book in the Bible. And today we're going to start looking at how his life and his vocation can speak to our lives, particularly in times when life is rough. And we all have known those times, and even more so in those times that life is rough to the point that it's difficult to have faith. So the two passages of scripture that we just heard from Jeremiah chapter 1 and 20 give us a bit of a sense of the person and call of Jeremiah. Jeremiah is prophesying during a time that is probably the most important time in Israel's history since the time of Moses. Moses got to be this liberator figure and lead the people out of Egypt and receive the law and give the law to the people and institute temple worship, what that was going to look like. Jeremiah sees the worship of God crumbling, and he sees destruction coming. And his task is to call the people back to worship of the one true God and avoid the impending destruction. So as we start studying this book, which can be a little difficult to understand, today I'm going to share a little bit of history and a little geography, and then we'll ask in these two passages, what do these passages have to do with my life today? So we're going to start by looking at a map, and I'm really bummed out about this because I found an app this last week. There's an app for that would allow me to telestrate on my iPad Pro, and it worked like a charm in first service to point out things on the map. I felt like John Madden calling Monday Night Football. I was drawing all sorts of lines and stuff. It will not connect to the computer now. So it's just it's terrible. Who are my history and geography people who love this kind of stuff? There's a few of you. I knew there'd be a few. This is going to be great for you. The rest of you, I know this is like walking on hot coals. But stay with me for a minute because it's really important to know what's going on historically and geographically to understand Jeremiah. The things that he's foretelling, that he's prophesying, are things that are going to happen historically and geographically. It's really important. And he starts ministering because of what's already started to happen geographically. So we think the prophet Jeremiah was born around 644 BC. And he begins his ministry around 627. So if you're good at math, you know that means he was only 16 or 17 years old when he begins his ministry. Let's take a look at the map. It's going to be a little harder to point out without my cool handy-dandy thing. This is the Assyrian Empire just before Jeremiah is born in about 650 BC. The Mediterranean Sea is off to the left there, modern-day Europe and Turkey. To the upper left, Where it looks like a tree there on the bottom left, that's Egypt and Africa. You can see Jerusalem there, that's the little nation of Judah. They're under Assyrian control at this point. The area to the bottom, where there's no red, is the Arabian Desert, and you don't live there. What you remember learning in high school is that the area that marches through Nineveh and then back down through Jerusalem and into Egypt is what's called the Fertile Crescent. That's where people lived because there was water, they could grow crops there. You didn't live in the desert. And if you wanted to travel, you didn't travel through the desert, you passed through the Fertile Crescent. So if you were going to go from Asia to the right and you wanted to get to Africa, you didn't take a straight cross to where you were going to hit the desert. You went up through the Fertile Crescent and down. If you were going to go from Europe to Egypt, you passed down through Jerusalem, the land of Judah, and into Africa, and vice versa. All of the major trade routes of the day pass through this little nation of Judah, pass through Jerusalem. So you start to see a little bit of the importance of the land of Judah. This little piece of land joins together 3 different continents: Europe, Asia, and Africa. Which is why every great empire of the past wanted to control Judah. The Assyrians controlled it for almost 100 years, the Babylonians for 70 years, then the Persians, then the Greeks, and the Romans. This little piece of land is really strategically important. So in understanding that, in Jeremiah's time, there was a transition of empires. One empire fell, and another one took over. And in the time that he's prophesying, he's talking about the history that's unfolding in front of them. So the Assyrians conquered Judah in 722 BC. They conquered and destroyed Israel, the northern kingdom, and Judah in the south was allowed to remain for about 140 years or so. The Assyrians taxed the Israelites, they exacted tribute from them, they brought about pagan worship, there was always the threat of destruction. In 627 BC, there's a revolt that starts in the city of Babylon, which is a part of the Assyrian Empire at that time. And it works for them. They gain their independence, and since it works for them, other places start to revolt as well, including Egypt and Judah. So this next map that you're going to see is going to show you a little bit of how that spread happens. So the Babylonian revolt happens. Other places start revolting as well. By 609 BC, this entire area that's purple is controlled by the Babylonians. But what you'll notice is Judah is free. So is Egypt. Judah gains their independence for 17 years. But again, people want to control this land bridge. So this time, Egypt decides that they're going to exert their control, and they want to control Judah, they want to control Jerusalem, so they invade Judah. Next map. You'll see Egypt start to spread up from their area. They conquer Judah and Jerusalem, and they start marching up the coast of the Mediterranean Sea all the way to the Euphrates River. And things are going really well for them until 605. They get too much of the Babylonians, and the Babylonians soundly defeat them. So the Babylonians, they decide they're going to start marching down, and they're going to take back what the Egyptian Empire had controlled, and they're going to conquer Egypt and Judah. Last map. So now Babylon really starts to exert their control. Now they've got control of Judah and Jerusalem. Their control spreads all the way into Egypt. So in the book of Jeremiah, these prophecies are foretelling all that's going to happen. He keeps telling them that this nation, this empire from the north, the Babylonians, are going to take control of everything. And that Judah is going to lose their independence. This little land of Judah would be caught in the middle of these battles between great empires. That's the historical backdrop for the book of Jeremiah. Those of you that hated that, deep breath, no more mouse. So this young man, this 16, 17-year-old kid, Jeremiah, starts prophesying around 627 BC. And it's in that time of change. Babylon has thrown off the Assyrians, Judah and Egypt have as well. And this 16-year-old starts preaching to people throughout the land of Judah that as part of their independence, they need to return to the worship of Yahweh. You see, when the Assyrians were in control, the people began to worship their gods, at first alongside of Yahweh. They built altars for the Assyrian gods. They even went so far as to move the altar of the Lord in the Temple of Solomon so it could be side by side with these pagan altars. Then they began to neglect the temple altogether. It fell into great disrepair. They misplaced the law of Moses for 50 years. So they started to disregard the law altogether, and they focused more and more on pagan worship and forgot more and more about the God of Israel. In Jeremiah's time, there are three main groups when it comes to worship. First are the princes and the rulers, and they really protect the idol worship that was brought to them under the Assyrians. Then there are the priests, and publicly they advocate for the worship of God, but it's really a nationalistic thing only. And then they led people in these kind of magic rites and incantations that led to this really hollow and perfunctory ritualism that wasn't true worship at all. Then there were people like Jeremiah and King Josiah. They were seeking reformation and a return to the worship of God. So this guy Josiah, he's 21 years old. He becomes king of Judah. His grandfather had been king, his father had been king, but they were part of that prince and rulers group who were protecting idol worship. But Josiah comes along, and when he becomes king, he immediately starts rebuilding the temple. And as they're repairing the temple, they come across this lost copy of the law of Moses. Remember, it had been missing for 50 years. And they read the law of Moses in the hearing of all the people, and everyone was so struck by hearing the law read aloud that everyone was in tears, and Josiah decided to push farther. He begins his work of tearing down these idol places, these places of idol worship. The Assyrian altars are removed from the temple. The high places and worship poles are torn down. He starts calling people back to the worship of the one true God. So Jeremiah, 5 years younger than Josiah, a 21-year-old and a 16-year-old, he comes along Josiah, and he starts to preach in every town and village, you must repent. God is a jealous God, and he will not tolerate you serving these false gods. As long as you serve them, you need to understand that you'll be overtaken, and God's not going to protect you. So return to your God and love him with all of your heart. That's the basic message we find throughout the book of Jeremiah. And as you can imagine, it's not a popular message, especially a popular message to be heard from a 16-year-old. And as a 16-year-old, he's a little nervous about giving this message in the first place. It's not an easy word to preach because people don't want to hear this kind of word. He's talking about wrath and judgment and sin and faithlessness and rebellion and what comes from rejecting God. But he believes that he has a call from God, that God has given him this hard word, and he has to obey what God has called him to do. And that's what we read about in chapter 1. Now the word of the Lord came to me, saying, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. And before you were born, I consecrated you. I appointed you as a prophet to the nations. And I said, Lord God, I don't know how to speak, for I'm only a boy. But the Lord said to me, do not say I'm only a boy, for you shall go to all whom I send you, and you shall speak whatever I command you. Do not be afraid of them, for I'm going to deliver you, says the Lord. And the Lord put out his hand, and he touched my mouth. And the Lord said to me, now I have put my words in your mouth. See, today I appoint you over nations and kingdoms to pluck up and pull down, to destroy and overthrow, to build and to plant. So here's this 16-year-old boy who's absolutely terrified of his call. Absolutely terrified. But he knows it's from God, and there's something burning within him with passion to share these words. And at first the people were probably like, oh, look, the boy preacher, that's really cute. But he preached with such conviction that they started paying attention, and they did not like what he had to say at all. And I think one of the first things that we're meant to take away from these passages is that so often we feel God calling us to do something, and we come up with a list of reasons why we can't. We have a passion that builds inside of us to be a part of something bigger than us, to speak into an issue in our culture, to do something with our family, to do something with our lives, and we come up with a list of reasons we can't. Like Jeremiah, we're too young, or we're too old, or we can speak, or we can't. We have this talent, or we don't. But if God is calling you to do something, no matter how out of your comfort zone it is, if he's the one calling you, he's going to be with you. He tells Jeremiah, and he tells us, don't say I'm only fill in the blank. For you shall go to all to whom I send you. You shall speak whatever I command you. Do not be afraid, for I am with you. God may be calling you to something great. Don't make excuses, because there's nothing worse than knowing that you're being called to do something, to feel that passion welling inside of you to do something bold and courageous, but then sitting on your hands and missing out on the great adventure that God might have for you, whatever that may be. I was younger than Jeremiah by 2 years when I first felt the call to be a pastor, and I literally had this fire shut up in my bones to preach the Word of God, and you hear me say a lot that I've known for a long time that I wanted to be a part of bringing about a new great awakening. And you can imagine, though, that when I went to church camp as a non-church kid who didn't believe in God and came home not only as a Christian but telling everybody I wanted to be a pastor, my family and friends went through a little bit of inertia. And it was hard for them to figure this out. And they had a whole list of reasons I shouldn't. Are you sure you want to do this? Number one on their list was, you don't know anything at all. But I knew in my heart this is what I was supposed to do with my life. So what's that bold and courageous thing that God's calling you to do? What's the passion that wells up inside you? Don't forget the fire in your belly. Don't make excuses. If God is calling, He will equip you and He will be with you. That's what we see in Jeremiah's call story. Before you were even born, Jeremiah, I set you apart for this thing. And through you, Jeremiah, I'm going to do all sorts of great things. So Jeremiah goes out and he starts preaching this really hard word. If you don't change, I can see it in my mind's eye, we're going to be conquered again. Our independence is going to be really short-lived. These are the things that you're doing that are offensive to God, and you have to stop. You can't keep doing these things, because I'm telling you that this kingdom from the north, and we know that was the Babylonians, they're going to come and they're going to destroy us if we don't follow God. And if you want to keep following the Assyrian gods, then God's going to let them save you. And guess what? They're not real. They can't save you. So return to what is real. Return to the God that you've known. And at first, maybe, like I said, they thought it was cute. Look at this 16-year-old teaching about God. And yeah, he's got some good points, but then they started to get irritated. They started to get angry. They beat Jeremiah. They put him in prison. They put him in stocks and left him overnight. They harassed him. Finally, they said, just shut up, Jeremiah. We don't want to hear it anymore. Then came a day that Jeremiah said, I can see it now, you're not turning to God. You've hardened your hearts, you've stiffened your necks, and that kingdom's coming. This is your last chance. Your only hope is to cast yourself on God. But in 587 BC, the most cataclysmic event in the Old Testament occurs. The Babylonians invade Judah. They tear down the walls of Jerusalem. They destroy the houses of the priests. They kill the priests' families in front of their eyes. They carry the priests off into exile, and they burn the temple of God to the ground. Jeremiah told them that it was going to happen. He told them from the time that he was 16 or 17 years old, and now he's in his 30s, and he's told them this, except the people didn't want to listen. And at one point, just before the second passage that we read in Jeremiah chapter 20, the priest in charge of the temple, remember the ones who are leading this hollow and perfunctory ritual, saying that it's about God, but secretly encouraging idol worship, the priest in charge, Pastor, he says, we've told you before to shut up, and now we're done tolerating you, Jeremiah. So he has Jeremiah beaten, he has him stripped naked, and he has him put in stocks at the gate of the temple. And everyone who comes to the temple can see this 30-something-year-old prophet on torturous display. And no one takes pity on him. This is what they say. This is what you get for opening your mouth, Jeremiah. Just keep it shut from now on so this doesn't happen to you again. And they left him in stocks overnight. And when they set him loose, you would think after such a traumatic event that he would want to just walk away. But instead, as soon as they set him loose, he turns around and he looks at that priest in charge and he says, I can see it now, you're going to die in exile. And terror is going to be struck in your heart because you're going to see the things that I foretold happen in front of you, and you didn't listen to me. So then he slips away and he writes this psalm to God that we read. He writes 7 of them throughout the book of Jeremiah. And it's interesting because we see more of the personal life of Jeremiah than we do any of the other prophets in the Old Testament. Jeremiah is often referred to as the weeping prophet because he really wants people to like him. And we can identify with that. He's got this message to preach. He's got this hard word that nobody wants to hear. And he knows God that has called him to this hard word. But at the end of it, he still really wants people to like him. It hurts him when they say things about him. It hurts him when they hear his words and don't listen. And he wants to live a normal life, what he thinks is normal. But God has called him to this ministry. So throughout the book of Jeremiah, he writes these 7 laments or complaint songs where he complains to God. And one of them we read in chapter 20. Oh Lord, you have enticed me, and I was enticed. In Hebrew, the word is actually deceived, but the English translators don't want us to get confused by God deceiving people. What he's saying is, I thought I was getting into one thing, but it seems like something else. I feel like I've been deceived. You have enticed me, and I was enticed. You have overpowered me, and you have prevailed. I have become a laughing stock all day long. Everyone mocks me. For whenever I speak, I must cry out, I must shout violence and destruction. For the word of the Lord has become for me a reproach and a derision all day long. Do you feel his agony? Do you feel him saying that his wish that he doesn't have to preach this word anymore? He's tired. He's worn out. God, you promised me that you were going to go with me through this and you were going to deliver me, but when I'm sitting around in stocks all day, I just don't feel it. God, this isn't what I thought I was signing up for. Have you ever felt that way? You ever felt tired, weary? You got into something because you thought it was going to make your life better, it was going to make the world better, but it just isn't what you signed up for? Because of my vocation, obviously I think of pastors. A recent survey said that 90% of pastors report that their ministry was completely different than what they expected in a negative way. And only 1 out of every 10 pastors will actually retire as pastors. But I think of others as well. Social workers, the turnover is something like 5 years. They get into this, this is not what I signed up for. With my wife being a nurse, we talk about this often, of doctors and nurses who sign up to care and help for people. They want to be about people, but what they find instead is a corporate system that's focused on the bottom dollar instead of people. What they find instead is unrealistic expectations that no one person can ever meet. When it comes to nurses, the turnover rate in some places in our country is as high as 37%. When they discover that this isn't what they signed up for. Currently, we're short about 1 million nurses in this country. But it's true in other areas of life as well, not just vocation. We feel weary. We feel worn out in a lot of ways. We feel like our kids are crazy. Maybe they've gone off the deep end. Maybe they've started talking back. My 4-year-old has figured that out. We look at the news and we see things that are happening in our nation and our world, and we think it just couldn't get any darker, and this is not what I signed up for. And in those seasons of life where it's hard, in those seasons of life where it's hard to keep the faith, it's hard to remember that God is always going to be with us. We feel like we're doing the right thing with our lives. But at some point we start to lose our courage. We start to forget that God is with us through it all, even in the midst of those moments that we want to throw in the towel. In the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus says this really peculiar thing. He says, "Blessed are you when people revile you and persecute you and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account." Really? "Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven, for in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you." I think what we're supposed to hear in this lament is, God, this doesn't feel what I signed up for. Feel like what I signed up for. But we're not supposed to give up. We're not supposed to give out. We're not supposed to give in. And we're supposed to turn to God, especially in those moments when it's hard, we're supposed to turn to God. And that's what Jeremiah is talking about at the end of the lament. You heard the first part where he's saying, I become a laughing stock and a derision. All I talk about is violence and destruction. God, this isn't what I thought I was signing up for. If I say, though, I will not mention his name or speak any more in his name, then within me there is something like a burning fire shut up in my bones. I am weary with holding it in, and I cannot. Even if I wanted to quit, I can't, because God has called me to this. Something like a burning fire is shut up in my bones, and it takes more energy to avoid doing what God has called me to do than it does not. I think in this passage we're supposed to understand that each of us needs some fire burning in our bones. Something that we believe so strongly in that we're willing to get a little bit uncomfortable for it. Maybe even a little embarrassed for it. Something that's so important for us that it's that fire in the belly, there's a fire shut up in our bones. And I think through my life, and I think of those times when I've known that I felt the fire shut up in my bones, and the times that I've let it out and done that thing that I know that I'm being called to do, and I've never felt more alive. But what I think of more often are those times that I felt the fire shut up in my bones and I kept it there. I left it on the inside because I was worried that it might offend this person or what it might do to my family or my career. And we all get in those moments. And we think, maybe I'll just sit this one out. I remember my first week of undergraduate college at Lincoln Christian College, they must have asked us 100 times in all of these small groups, why did you decide to go to Bible college? And at some point, the question started to annoy me. Because everybody had this pat answer all the time. And one of the last times I remember being asked, and it just hit me in a different way. We were sitting outside the warehouse, which was the coffee shop, and we're sitting in this small group, and the group leader says, so why did you decide to go to Bible college? And this person, because they wanted to go into youth ministry, because they watched their dad do it for all these years, and this person just wanted the Bible base before they went off to nursing school, and this person wanted to understand how to be a business leader, but have Christian ethics, and got to me, and I said this really naive thing. I want to change the world for Jesus. I look back and think how naive that statement was, how wet behind the ears I was, how little I knew about anything. But I kind of miss that kid. I kind of miss the kid who thought that a new great awakening was possible, who wasn't cynical about the direction of the church, who wasn't so burned out on the direction of our nation, and thought, this can really happen. It was a fire shut up in my bones, and I kind of missed that. What's the bold and courageous thing that God's calling you to do, but you've sat out of it for too long? You remember that passion that welled up inside of you, but you let it go. Is it time to let go of the excuses and say, I'm going to step out, I'm going to try this? There's a fire shut up in my bones, and I'm weary. I'm tired from trying to hold it in, and I'm not going to try anymore. I'm going to do this thing. One of those places in your life that you feel weary, you feel worn out, you feel beaten down, you feel like it's not what you signed up for at all. What we're supposed to hear from Jeremiah is don't give up. Don't give out. Don't give in. Because I will be with you. I will put fire in your bones. I will set you on fire. I'll let you burn for me if you remain in me and let me go with you. Let me be your guide on the journey. I don't know what you're walking through. I don't know what area of your life feels like you've just been beaten down and beaten down. You've spent the night in stocks before. Even after that, Jeremiah says, I can't hold it in. Don't give up. Don't give out. Don't give in. Let's pray together.